Hi everyone, Diana Rankin here with your weekly message from Phillip and some information here. I want to kind of give you a little bit of background so it's all clear. On the 21st week, which was May 17th to the 23rd of this year, we answered a viewer's questions about the end times, which Phillip calls and I call the evolutionary times or the beginning times. And hello, hi, glad to have you here. Looks like Aaron. I'm not sure what the name is, but welcome. So anyway, to go on. So after that video aired, and I did put the link to it right below here in the, so you can find the link. Hi, Wendy. And hello from Wisconsin, Christy. Glad to see you both with me today. A client, one of my clients, and if you do want a private reading, just again, get a hold of me. All the information's below. But a client asked me privately about how relationships, and specifically like marriages or kids, close relationships, are affected by this shift that we're going through, this evolutionary shift. And as I say, Phillip calls not the end times, we call them the beginning times. I talked to that client privately about that, but never addressed it here on the video. And so another client or another viewer asked about the end times. Well, hello, Greg. Haven't talked to you for at least a couple of hours. Good to see you. Anyway, when that comes up again, when the same question comes back up, I know that we haven't answered it fully, and there's more to it that has to be looked at and answered. So at the time we talked about living in multiple dimensions, but the question of end times, when it came up, it's like, there's more here. Let's look at it. So I don't want to repeat in this session what we said on that May video. Again, the link is below if you want to go back and check that. But what we are going to talk about is how relationships are affected. And I have to tell you, sometimes I get a little bit arrogant and I think, okay, I already got the answer because Phillip's already told me that answer. But I am always surprised when these questions come up and I write them out. I am always surprised at there's something here I didn't know. And you would think by now I wouldn't be surprised because I'll be the first person to say, the more I know, the more I learn, the more I know nothing. And so I want to give you what Phillip said about this. But first, before I tell you specifically what Phillip said, I want to tell you what Phillip told me in one of my books, The Found Child. And so I'm going to read just a couple of pages from that speaks to this. And then I asked Phillip if he wanted to add anything. And of course he did. And then before our session is over, we will get a message from this book. And yes, they're all my books are available, or 4 are left in print, and they are available on Amazon. And so this book, for those of you who come each week, you know, it's an oracle book, and we just open to a page and we get our message, and we'll look at that in a few minutes. Thank you all for coming. I'm so glad that you come and you come back, and thank you for your questions, because these questions I don't come up with on my own. You come up with them. So this has to do with relationships and the end time. And I have to set it up a little bit. In this particular book, the main character in it, by the way, her name is Diana. I like the name. What can I tell you? She is walking down the lane, her lane, and she comes across this strange little boy who takes her on this journey where she meets this spirit guide, Phillip. And one of the things they do on this journey is they meet her love, the love of her life, who multiple years earlier was killed in the war in Vietnam. And so they've gone back, and she's been able to release him. And if you want a little more information on that, I think we talked about that last week. What if someone's caught between worlds? And so this is right after the release. And so there's Davy, which is the little boy. There's the main character, Diana, and then there is Philip, the spirit guide, and then there is Jeremy. So there are 4 characters here. And Jeremy is the dead love, the old boyfriend. In this life, he's dead. And Diana says, will I ever see either of them again? Meaning Davy and Jeremy have just walked into the light together. And Philip says, why, of course you will, Philip said. He smiled a deep, knowing smile, and the dark facets of his eyes sparkled with the mischievous knowing of a secret he was about to reveal. He swept his white robed dress arm across the heavens, and the world lit up with a blinding blue, bright white light. Oh my gosh, I stammered as the light lessened, and I saw Jeremy and me standing in the light. Then I did go with him. So she's thinking that she died because this whole thing starts with her having a motorcycle accident. Yes and no, Philip said, then swept his arm once more, and I saw Jeremy and me sitting down to a dinner table. We were not young children, but full-grown adults who looked much the age I looked today. A door opened somewhere, and I heard young children scrambling and calls of Grandma, Grandpa. Sorry we're late, a beautiful, pregnant, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman said, and I knew she had once been the man whose life Jeremy saved, Davy's father. The children, all 3 of them, crawled onto Jeremy's lap. I recognized one of the children, the oldest child, who was about 7, maybe 7 1/4. It was Davy. Philip, I don't understand. Why, my dear, I think you do. Did our souls split? Split? No. Think again. You know what you are seeing. You even wrote about it in another book. Now, I'm going to skip a little bit here, and then I'm going to come back. I hope this isn't too confusing with all the different characters. But what I want to illustrate is this is one way the characters played out. But at the same time, the characters are playing out this war scene in one dimension. In this other dimension, they had married and were grandparents and were still alive. And then Philip goes on to say, and with each breath, then I am witnessing other lives Jeremy and I lived together, I said to Philip. Live, not lived, Philip said, emphasizing the present form of live. You have experienced simultaneous lives lived in different earth time frames. Now you are witnessing different lives lived within the same time frame. You see, my dear, every choice you make leads to a different circumstance. When the human feels strongly about 2 choices, then the soul creates both lives for that human. When you released Jeremy, it allowed you to also go with him, to be with him in spirit, to be in spirit world together. You will also return to the life you were living. I think that's a really important paragraph, so I'm going to reread it because there's a lot there. You see, my dear, every choice you make leads to a different circumstance. When the human feels strongly about 2 choices, then the soul creates both lives for that human. When you released Jeremy, it allowed you to also go with him to be in spirit world together. You will also return to the life you were living. And then Diana says, the one where I lose the bike in a gravel and a curve. Oh, yes, that little incident. So I really am still alive and will return to Earth? Certainly, as long as you choose to do so. The Diana and Jeremy, who are Davy's grandparents, you want to know how you can be there and here at the same time, and you want to know that if Davy is whole. First, yes, Davy is whole now thanks to the work you just completed with Jeremy here in the field. You mean Davy's my grandson? In this parallel life, yes. In the life you are familiar with, he is born to another. How did that life, the one where Jeremy and I are together and Davy is our grandson, how did that life come into being? Oh, Philip waved his arm, and again the scene before me changed. It was the young couple, Jeremy and Diana, on the college campus one sunlit afternoon, but not the same couple I had seen moments before. This was a different Jeremy and Diana. They're going to draft me, Jeremy said. Don't go, Jeremy. I can't stand it if you leave me. He pulled me into him, held my head against his chest, and I smelled the scent of fresh soap in summer afternoons. There are options, he whispered. I pulled away, looked at him. Canada? For one, but there are other options too. I qualify as a CO. That's a conscientious objector. Jeremy, that's even worse. They still send you to Vietnam only without a gun. He laughed and my world lit up. We'll find a way, Diana. We'll find a way. I promise. We'll be together. We'll find a way. I looked at Philip and I understood. This Jeremy went to prison, didn't he? The Jeremy in this dimension went to prison because he resisted the draft. Philip didn't answer. He didn't have to. I knew the answer. But he got out and we were together, are together. I corrected myself. You are together, that is correct, Philip said. How did we ever live through the time he was in prison? How did he stand that? Your love sustained him. You also sent him energy from this life. Humans can do that, send energy to their other selves and to those they love in parallel universes because we are connected. Well, it's more than a connection, my dear. You are one. It's the same Diana, the same Jeremy, just different expressions, living different lives, not one aware of the other. One not aware of the other. Excuse me, just one moment here. Throat's getting a little dry from the talking. I'll repeat that. It's more than a connection, my dear. You are one. It's the same Diana, the same Jeremy, just different expressions, living different lives. One not aware of the other. Let me see if I'm getting all this. In one dimension, the one I live in, Davy split off from Jeremy, leaving the rest of Jeremy on the battlefield. Excuse me. My throat gets dry from the reading. Okay, let me see if I'm getting all this. In one dimension, the one I live in, Davy split off from Jeremy, leaving the rest of Jeremy on the battlefield while he, Davy, came back to Earth and died while he was still a child. In another dimension, a parallel universe, Jeremy is my husband and Davy is our grandson. And in this life, Davy will live a long life. Oh, I had to sigh. It's all very complicated, Philip. Yes, difficult for the human mind to comprehend, which is why humans only remember one life at a time, except in rare incidents. The soul is vast and mysterious. In this life, the one I live, the one I know, are you sure I will see them again, Jeremy and David? Why, of course. You just need a little patience. Everything always comes back on itself. Everything always comes back on itself. So then I asked Philip, what else do you want to add? And this is what he had to say. And again, I'm going to take a little drink of water. They're cutting the fields around me. It's harvest time, and it makes it a very dusty time around here. So my throat gets dry. Thank you for your understanding. Okay, here we go. Here's what Philip says. It is to also be known that one may be with the same partner in additional dimensions or with someone else. Keep in mind that for every major choice you make, you are also living the opposite choice, and every major choice that you makes is also splitting off. Choices are really quite endless, and so is life until all choices come back together in perfect unity. This is when all the selves that the individual is known. This is when all the selves that the individual is know their truth. They are the pure light of love. It is wise to remember that all the different selves may meet as you pass through different dimensions or even within Earth space, but not recognize yourself. One that you think of as an enemy may actually be you who chose a different choice and has entered your life here to show you how the other path turned out. To avoid getting too complicated, because as I'm writing this, I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is getting complicated, Philip. And so Philip goes on to say, to avoid getting too complicated for the human mind to understand, let us say that it is always wise to be kind to others because one of those others might be you in another form and dimension. This is not to say you are to allow anyone to harm you or that you should avoid speaking out if you witness someone being harmed. It is to say that you should always reach for understanding and compassion because that other person may be another you who has come with needed information. They may come to give you hope, to warn you of a choice you should or should not make, to give you strength or show you the choices you've made are right for this life in this dimension. That you live in multiple dimensions is of little concern to the day to day activities of everyday existence. Let it be of concern only to know that life is grander than the human mind can grasp. There is more. There is so much more. Let that knowledge sustain you. Wow. Wow. I can't even wrap my mind around it. It is so much. And it is just, wow. Like I say, the more I learn, the more I know. I really don't know very much. Let's get our message, shall we? Wow is right. It's mind blowing. So we're going to just open to any page. There you go. If you thought, oh, I'm getting a mixed message here, left page, right page, but I think it's right page, but the left page feels important too. If you did get left page, that's a specific message for you. But here is our right page. When you are lonely, you have been given the opportunity to come to better know the one who lives within you. And I don't know which one that is. Honestly, it may be the multiple yous that live within you. But I'll repeat that. When you are lonely, you have been given the opportunity to come to better know the one who lives within you. That's one way to deal with loneliness, isn't it? And we are in that time where we have the opportunity to go inward. Now is the time. Let's go inward. Let's use it. On the left side, it says, and this has to do with, it always shocks me, and yet it doesn't. It has to do with our message that we receive, with all of that. And it simply says, when you dismiss another, you dismiss a part of yourself. No wonder both sides were important. But if you heard right, and again, I was getting mixed messages there, both right and left. So the right side says, when you are lonely, you have been given the opportunity to come to better know the one who lives within you. And on the left side, it says, when you dismiss another, you dismiss a part of yourself. Oh my gosh. My friends, I don't know what else to say other than I love you. Thank you for being with me in person. And thank you for coming week after week. Tell your friends. We're in some really, really difficult times right now. Earlier, a friend and I were talking about how difficult these times are and how it's changing. It's almost like take a breath and the next breath, you'll have a different emotion or something else will happen. Or, you plan this morning and then it changes within the hour and you have to deal with something else. And that's just the energy right now. I'm not an astrologer, but astrologers tell me, Mars is in retrograde and Mercury is about to go in retrograde, and we're about to have this major election, and it's oy vey. And thank you, Christy. Welcome. And so I'm just going to say, friends, this is the time you got to take care of yourselves. It's really, really self-care is going to be very, very important over these next several weeks. Erratic, yeah. So maybe we need to call in those selves from another dimension that are perhaps living in an ashram or in a monastery where all they're doing is meditating and being calm. And remember, we can pull in those other selves. So enjoy your life. Enjoy pulling in and having some fun with those other selves. Don't pull in the nasty ones, just the good ones. All right, my friends, I love you. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for being with us this week and every week. And I don't think I will next week, but maybe the week after that, I will get out for November. So I love you. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for receiving this love we send out to you. Create love in your life. And yes, Christy, blessings to all. Thank you.